Have you ever asked an AI a question and gotten an answer that sounds perfect but is just completely wrong? Yeah, that's what we're diving into today. We're talking about AI hallucinations, these weird, made-up things that AI models sometimes say. We're going to break down what they are, why they happen, which is super interesting, and most importantly, how we can actually start to tame them. Okay, so picture this. You ask an AI for a cool fact, and it tells you something like this, with total confidence. It sounds right, doesn't it? It's one of those things we've all kind of heard before. It feels like a solid piece of trivia. But there's a pretty big problem here. Yeah, it's not true. Not even a little bit. You absolutely cannot see the Great Wall from the moon with the naked eye. So when an AI just makes up something like this, something that sounds so believable but is just flat out wrong, that's what we call a hallucination. And honestly, it's one of the biggest challenges we face if we're ever going to really truly trust these systems.
All right, so if we're going to fix this, we've got to understand it first, right? So let's think about it like a doctor. First, we need to look at the symptoms. What do these hallucinations actually look like? Once we know that, we can figure out the cause, and only then can we start talking about a treatment.
And you know, these symptoms can be really sneaky. We're talking about an AI inventing facts out of thin air, maybe giving you the wrong date for a major historical event. Or, and this one's a real problem, it might even create fake citations for a research paper, pointing to sources that don't exist. And it gets worse. Imagine getting a step-by-step guide for something technical that's just confidently, dangerously wrong. So what's the diagnosis here? I mean, how can these models that have been trained on basically the entire internet get things so wrong? Well, it's not really a bug like you'd think of in normal software. It's actually something much deeper, a kind of conflict baked into their very design. And this really gets us to the heart of the matter. You see, these AI models are built to do one thing really, really well. And you might be surprised to hear that that one thing isn't to be 100% truthful. Nope. Their goal is something else entirely.
So here's the big reveal. An AI hallucinates because its fundamental goal is to give you a plausible answer, not necessarily a true one. It's basically a super advanced prediction machine. It's just trying to figure out the next best word to string together to make a sentence that sounds good and makes sense in context. It's not built to stop and ask, hey, is this sentence I'm creating actually factually correct?
And this is really the most important thing to get. The AI isn't trying to be a fact checker. It's trying to be a useful assistant. Its main job is to give you a smooth, helpful sounding response. So if making up a little detail here or there makes the whole answer sound more complete or plausible, well, it's often going to do just that.
Okay, so we've got our diagnosis. The model cares more about being useful than being truthful. And understanding that, that's everything. That's the key to figuring out a treatment. So the big question is, how do we fix it? Well, let's dive into a really smart 4-layered approach that developers are using to tackle this head-on.
Now, first things first, there's no magic bullet here. You can't just flip a switch and turn off hallucinations. It's just not that simple. The real solution is more like a treatment plan with multiple layers. Think of it like building up layers of defense to stop the model from just making stuff up.
And this is what that plan looks like. It's a really practical 4-step process. We start with the easy stuff and then build up to the more powerful, complex fixes. So let's break down each of these 4 layers: prompts and context, grounding and retrieval, contracts and data, and finally, evals and monitoring.
All right, layer 1. This is our first line of defense, and it's all about giving the AI better instructions. I mean, think about it. If you've got this AI that loves to tell stories, how do you get it to stick to the facts? You have to give it really, really clear rules. We're talking about writing prompts that box it in, with commands like, only use the information I'm giving you right now, or, and this is a big one, telling it, if you don't know the answer, just say you don't know. It's all about setting those boundaries right from the get-go. Okay, layer 2 is where things get really interesting. It's called grounding, and it's a massive leap forward. So instead of letting the AI just dream up answers from its gigantic, messy memory, we basically chain it to a trusted source of information. It's kind of like giving a student an open book test, right? We hand it a specific fact-checked document, maybe a user manual or a legal text, and we tell it, you are only allowed to answer using what's in here. This whole technique, you'll hear it called RAG, for retrieval augmented generation, and it seriously cuts down on the AI's ability to just make things up. Then we get to layer 3, which is even stricter. We use something called output contracts. This is where we basically force the AI to give us its answer in a super specific, structured format that a computer can easily check. So for instance, we could tell it, your answer must be in this specific data format, and for every single piece of information, you have to provide the exact quote and page number from the document I gave you. And here's the kicker, if it can't find a direct quote, it has to leave that part blank. No guessing allowed. This makes checking its work incredibly fast and automatic. And that brings us to the final layer, layer 4, just constantly being watchful. You can think of this as a quality control team that literally never goes home. Because even with all those other safeguards in place, you still have to keep an eye on things. This means running automated tests, evals, that are constantly throwing tricky questions at the AI, trying to get it to hallucinate. It's kind of like having a team that's always trying to break the system to find its weaknesses. You watch how it's doing, you track the errors, and you use that info to make the whole system better. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's more like building a permanent immune system for your AI.
So after all that, the diagnosis, the 4-layer treatment plan, what's the final prognosis? Can we actually cure AI hallucinations for good? Well, with the way these models are built today, the honest answer is probably not. But what we can absolutely do is manage them. We can suppress them and bring them down to a level that's totally acceptable and reliable, especially for really important tasks where getting it right is crucial.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this simple mantra. Start small, measure, and iterate. It doesn't matter if you're building an AI system or just using one for your work. The point is, don't just blindly trust what it spits out. You have to be an active participant. Give it a small, manageable task you can actually check. See how accurate it is. And then, based on what you find, you tweak your approach. You change your prompts, you give it better sources. You're actually a really important part of taming these things. And all this really leaves us with a big question to think about. Now that we know these incredibly powerful tools are basically designed to be convincing storytellers, not perfect fact-checkers, how does that change how we should trust information we get from them? It really feels like our role is changing, We're moving from just being passive consumers of answers to becoming active, critical verifiers of information.